But before I show you fine people who I've decided to pick for today's game, I have a little story. You see, once upon a time, a few days ago, I was looking for a game to go over for my lecture. And wouldn't you know it, I was looking for a game at a really, really brilliant time. Because we had such fine games as Kaji going over trying to obtain one of his titles. And believe it or not, he actually won his first game out of 3, so it was looking very, very good for him. A lot of people enjoy looking over Kaji's game, so I thought to myself, great, this will be a fine game to go over for one of my lectures. But as I always do, I keep checking back, see what other games come out, and wouldn't you know it, we had a Jubango game, Lee Sedol vs. Gu Li, another set of players that people are really, really interested in a series that everybody is interested in. And I thought to myself, this is a really, really good game that I should be going over. But of course, lecture time hadn't rolled around yet, so today I look again, and I see Lee Cheng Ho, another player everybody knows. Surely another game that everyone would want to look over. However, that brings me to today's game, which is not the Jubango game. It is not Keji's game. It is not Yi Cheng Ho's game. It is, in fact, Choi Cheolhan's game. I forget what he was playing in, and frankly, I don't care because that's not what clued me into this game. This was immediately on my radar because I immediately zoom in on a specific, very, very specific matchup. 1 Dan versus 9 Dan. Those games are really interesting to go over, in my opinion. Some of the most interesting games I've ever gone over have been games with real large disparities in rank. And the reason for that is a lot of you guys are always told, this proverb, go proverb, obey this proverb for reasons that I'm not going to tell you. Or you might tell someone while you're reviewing a game, you should always adhere to this. But when we have 1 Dans facing 9 Dans, we tend to have simpler games, typically. And in those games, we can kind of see where those proverbs and pieces of advice that we've been giving, they actually make sense. Again, due to the disparity. You see basic ideas in thought kind of not holding up to where they should be. And so on go over the game. That said, we have a fairly basic opening, as we normally do, and hello Hiccups, and everybody else who has joined. The 1 Dan opens up fairly normally with dual 3-4 points. White being, in case you don't know, a fairly strong Korean professional 9 Dan. Comfortable with many, many openings, he decides to approach immediately. He could go take another corner. Might get into one of the Chinese variations at that point, depending on what each player decides to play. Here, I guess White says, you know what, we're going to start fighting immediately. And I'm sure this is not in any way, shape, or form because he noticed his opponent's rank and decided, let's trip him up from the beginning of the game. But Black remains nice, calm, and cool, takes himself a corner, leaving it on White to decide how to follow up and try to profit off the fact that his approach has gone unanswered so far. Q14 could lean. I would be very, very surprised if I saw Q14. It's like your follow-up is going to try to be to offer the Taisha? I suppose you could do that, but these players probably know the Taisha. I would hope at the professional level they know their way around the Taisha. Probably not gonna be too difficult, and you probably don't want to invite a variation in which you're just getting an even result, given that you passed up the corner, right? Approach bottom right is exactly what we see. A lot more common than playing another move on top of the board. So that can get over-concentrated, that can break off into a even variation, things that we don't want. So alright, now black has to decide how to use all of these 3 stones together in some way. Many options, and whatever you see next, you're not going to hopefully think to yourself, right, this is the only way I can respond to this. Not at all, not at all. There are many different variations here. I mean, we can play for territory, we could pincer, we can pincer over here. Many, many different ideas. All of them perfectly okay. What are your thoughts on low versus high on these corners? Rarely have I seen a low approach to low approach. I think high approach works a little bit better against any follow-up against the upper right cornerstone. If we play low for territory, I think it's harder to actually use all of your stones effectively, because then you're looking at something like, well, once they pincer high, what's the goal? Are we just gonna... We're not gonna just go back here and live, right? I don't think that did what we were looking for it to do. I guess we can make things a little bit more complicated. I think that's probably about the best thing you can hope for in terms of creating a complicated board. But I don't know, I think it's just hard to use. High, you can always get influence. Pincer and attack the corner, things like that. Doing preferably multiple things at once, depending on what you're looking to do. In this case, we see black giving white even more influence. He's just going to try to develop the bottom, which he says thank you to, while white develops. And this is also beginning why I picked the game. Because right now we see white doing what? We see white jumping out. We see white getting influence. We have no idea how white's going to use this influence, but we are using it. Did I unmute myself? I did, and there's dogs barking in the background. If you can hear that later on, I'm sorry. Would Q4 work? Q4, what is Q4? And where would you play it? I do not know for black. Oh, this is not a good idea. You are directly strengthening white, and for what reason? Becomes the question. I mean, are you going to do this to get a larger corner? Because he's really, really happy about all the influence you're giving him. Are you doing this just to take third line? Then why did you touch him in the first place? I mean, if you wanted just the third line, you could have done it like this. But you know you wouldn't do that because it's too low and unappealing. So why would we strengthen our opponent before playing the low and unappealing move? Yeah, if you want the points, you'd attach here first and get maximum corner, right? Maximum power. Uh-oh, problem on the Twitch. I am not dropping frames either. I am at 0% dropped, so it's gotta be you, Fraudwidth, I'm sorry. Chances are my bandwidth is a little bit higher than what you're used to, though it shouldn't be. I stream at a fairly low bandwidth. Sorry about that. Let's see, Bat, what do you think of Q15 now? Q15, it is in fact black's move. Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Now that you have Sente here as white, what are you going to do? Do we feel compelled to play on the bottom? Are we going to try to pincer? Are we going to try to pincer the other stone? Are we going to back off in numerous ways? How would you people feel about playing this as black? What would you do? Indeed, I often forget whose move it is. Q15 because I'm unimaginative. Alright, I like that. Let's see. Mr. Monday. Since you were the first person to say it, why do you want to play Q15? Evidence suggests you are on the right track, given that both a 10Q and a 3-Dan both find your move appealing. But how did you find it? If you are there. Okay. That's one good reason. Because it is Shusaku's move. That is why I wish to play it. It's supposed to be fairly strong as a response. Okay. It is a very strong move. I mean, you can't separate a move like Q15. Clearly. It works in the direction of the lower right group. It applies pressure while getting some territory. If white gets a move around there, it'll be good for white. Yeah, we're all touching upon the right idea. So right, in fact, that is in fact what black actually plays. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, that black actually pincers instead. Well, what you might find here, for example, is a complete change in direction. You're offering up the option, one option, for example, of white developing over here, which may be something that you don't want your opponent to do. You don't want them to keep developing off the influence because he clearly wants to do something along those lines. We could approach even closer to our opponent, but the problem there is there's a large space, right? So white might actually split you, and then you have to decide which move you dislike the least, and, you know, save that one. Probably don't want to get into things like that. If we're looking to play nice and strong, not leave very much aji for our opponent to hurt us with, we can play the diagonal because it's threatening to lean on the top, and it's threatening to take a move on the right-hand side, which further makes white's groups uncomfortable. So yeah, this is a pretty good one. However, white, for reasons that you will appreciate, I hope, reasons that led me to immediately pick this game over the other ones that I mentioned, just surrounds. It's like, alright, you're leaning and maybe extending and these things, got it. I'm gonna surround. I'm gonna play nice and simply. And I love these games so much. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love these games, where the strong top player is just playing the simplest moves possible. So alright, it's now black's turn. He has to decide what to do now. I mean, there's a new wall. We can just keep responding to everything white's doing and take an enclosure. We can follow up with a pincer. We can take the extension that we had previously. A lot of different things that we can do. Probe F17. Approach first. Probably could do. That is one style of play, certainly. Black decides to simply follow up by pincering. I missed Monday's question. Is R10 a safe extension here? That's a tough question to answer. You are giving a little bit of aji towards your opponent. I don't think you'll be attacked, but you probably will get shoulder hit. I mean, you're not going to get, like, an invasion like this, I don't think. But I think you probably will get shouldered at the very least. Maybe not immediately, but it's coming. Alright, so we have the pincer against white stone. White now knows he can no longer make a base. So he decides instead to prevent black from coming under his stones and harassing black's base at the same time. So he's just following up nice and solid. I went to close my window because there's a helicopter going overhead. People like to invade for the sake of invasion. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't think it's so much that they're invading for the sake of invasion. I think it has more to do with the fact that they can't really estimate. They don't know if they need to invade. So they just kind of defer to the, default, I can do this, so I'm going to. Because I might be behind. Black responds defensively. White just happily surrounds. Black says, you are not using your influence. I am going to take my enclosure. That way you cannot approach me. What do you do now, sir? White now points out that he can extend in 2 different directions, so one of them which is taken off the board. Can't do that anymore. Unless we play J3, but really we're not going to play. Nobody here would play J3. That's just crazy. So he extends along the top, threatens to reactivate P17 as well. Is black going to defensively kill it off at O16? No, he's going to approach. No, you can't be that crazy, Eternity. Otherwise, you might be 30Q for an Eternity, and I don't think that's what you're looking for. If it is, then continue onwards. 30Q with L3. I suppose that's possible too. Alright, so black approaches. What are we going to do now? This is where you have a check on how greedy you are. Some people would look at these 2 stones on top of the board and they would say to themselves, black is trying to get something there. I am going to pincer immediately. Thereby essentially saying, there is no points I am going to obtain for myself in this area. All I am trying to do is make certain that you can't. And hopefully put pressure on something while I'm doing it. P15. What is P15? Oh, coming out. If you did a move like P15, you'd be doing that for the sake of trying to aim at that little square that I have just put on the board. You want influence to attack. Interesting idea. White, on the other hand, just backs off. It's like, dude, you've got 2 things to worry about right now. I'm threatening to come out, and I'm threatening to pincer. Which one do you want me to do? Black says, I'd really like it if this stone that I have now spent 3 moves to try to hurt doesn't come back to life. So I'm going to play here. Okay. Now, here I admit I was thrown off. Whenever I'm reviewing games, trying to figure out which one I'm going to do for a lecture or my How to Study Pro series, things like that, I do try to, guess the next move as well, because I figure, I might as well study the game too. And I thought he was going to pincer something, or I thought he was going to play something on the left-hand side. But that's not what's played. That's not what he plays. I'm surprised. I was surprised. Because White's not going to pincer. White plays R14. What is this move? Why on earth did he play this? Aiming at S17, I guess. Yeah. S17 is kind of large. It threatens to further reduce the upper top side that he's trying to get. That is true. Begging for a black invasion. a little bit. You have a little bit more to work with if black decides to invade. You're not just one stone being sandwiched against a strong group. You do have a little bit of an eye shape there, if that were to actually occur. Preventing black pincer on Q10. No, the pincer could still happen. There's room there for, to start getting a little bit of a base there, but if we're completely alive, I don't know. So you could still do that. This doesn't remove the pincer. Though apparently black was a little bit hesitant to going too deep. He wants white to follow low on third line, try to connect. That way he can escape and be happy. That is the dream here. And white says, I have a dream as well, that you're going to run for your life, because I'm going to surround you if you don't. So black jumps out. It's like, I see that dream is a good one. I am now leaving. Now we have to decide, can we do that again? Because that was fun. We like it when we can make our opponents run. You can see the fear in their eyes. But if we play out again, we're kind of there. But there's a lot of room. There's certainly a lot of room to be had. It's a bit harder to keep them in because we're going to be making this kind of shape. And that leaves this hole potentially right here where they can kind of come out and threaten our other group. Or they can directly attach to our stone maybe and get a wall to use with the group that doesn't really have a whole lot of shape to it. So maybe we can, maybe we can't. Instead, black goes, and then he connects. Like, alright, if I'm going to jump out again, I'm going to make certain that we're safe first. Because that looks like it could turn a little bit dangerous, maybe. We can see there's some Aji there. So alright, he defends. Black says, if you are defending, that means that I get to attack. Cut. Black attacks. My first reaction to this stone was, I don't know if that's good timing. Why is that my first reaction? Why do I feel that way? Does anyone know? Anyone know why I'd had that reaction to this? Yeah, it's that thing that I say repeatedly. It's because I can count to 2. I've identified a weak group, and I can see if this has to run as well, then maybe there's 2 weak groups, and rumor has it that's not good. But rumor has it, being a professional is a lot better than being an amateur, so perhaps he's seeing something that I'm not. So let's see what happens here. White says Atari up, right? Yeah, okay, good. White Atari up, black saves stone. We're not going to let it connect back because that would defeat the whole purpose of the multi-weak group theory. Black leans on bottom. Don't want to keep leaning on the middle because that's not useful. I mean, you'll get stronger, but the other groups will get stronger, and no. So white turns. Black comes out. We're seeing he's not completely connected yet. But even though he's not connected, and even though I'm sure many players would immediately counterattack, like, I'm going to cut this, and he's going to die, and it's going to be amazing. White still respects that his stones are weak as well. So he says, you know what? There's a weak there. There's a weak there? There's a weak point there. But before I take advantage of it, I'm going to lean on your stronger stones to see if I can help out my weak stones before I attack you. Makes sense. Black says, I'm gonna connect up all the things and take away Bad Aji, which you annoyingly had 1 move ago. 1 weak point's gone. Base has been obtained. Have to respond. Invites cutting, because there is weak stuff on the board. Yep, it is still Large Knight. It's not completely connected yet. A little bit stronger, but not completely there yet. Not 100%. Black doesn't cut. White says, no, really, please cut. And black does not cut, forcing white to connect. Alright. Black then attempts to profit. And oh my god, is that a lot of profit? Potentially. If this was all solid points for black right now, I would say congratulations, sir, you have obtained yourself the most enviable of all corners. Because there is a lot of points to be had down there. But here's a fun question. Given that I have now essentially all but told you you can invade this, how would you invade this? Invade it to 3-3. You can do better than that. A little bit better, a little bit better. Will anyone get it? I'd be so surprised. E3, F3, C4, F2, B5. Oh! Okay, I'm curious about the 10Q who got it right. Have you seen this game before? Okay, okay. I don't mean to accuse, it's just interesting that you got it right. Congratulations. Now, can you tell us why this looks good? Isn't that a common insation? Yes, it is a common insation. Exactly. You're threatening the 3-3, and you are threatening C8 at the same time. So, you know this can't be killed. It's impossible to kill it. It's got 2 ways of immediate life, which now makes Blackstone's incredibly awkward. Because black has to save some of his territory, so he's playing really defensively over here now, which allows white to escape and threaten to build up the left-hand side. So this really huge corner, because he doesn't want to peep himself. You can go blind that way. Because right now this would be Sente, right? Because we can't let our opponent poke through. So he plays that, gets to escape. On the bright side, he has Sente. The downside is that's a lot of potential on the left-hand side. Black is going to do something about that later on, because he can't just let that go. On the other hand, because he has a weak group in the middle, he can't just go and invade that right now, right? He'd have 2 weak groups, once again, charging towards each other. All you'd have to do at that point is textbook. Divide and conquer. Just split them, don't let them connect up. They surround themselves, and one of them gets killed because they can't both make it twice at the same time. So black has to defend. Yes, exactly. 07, peeping first. White says, I create cut point, but I'm not crazy. Black comes out. White tries to build all the things, which black immediately tries to reduce. again, pretty basic. A couple of ideas here, very, very basic. We can see that we have a little bit of an issue here. This is threatening to become a very, very large wall if we play normally. Right? If black gets anything over here, then this is a very, very large wall for development top of the board. All you need then is one more shoulder hit, and suddenly you've expanded way out into the middle. On top of that, we have a very, very basic way we can keep you separated. Try to put you behind enemy lines, surround you by attaching to the stone. Is it a good idea? Yeah. Why? Because the alternative is 2 potential shoulder hits that are going to give entirely too much to your opponent. So, okay, we're going to hit this. Trade-off, black gets to come down. White follows up. Black does likewise. So right now it seems like we have a pretty even game. Even-ish. We can see both players have weak groups they're going after, which is nice, White comes up. And that's what's kind of funny about this game. I kind of like games where right now we might look at the board, and if we didn't know whose turn it is, we can immediately look at the left-hand side and it's like the next person that plays there is like performing a pretty severe attack. And it just goes back and forth like that. Right now, white's in a bit of trouble. Now black's in a bit of trouble. Gonna try to connect up underneath. Little interesting choice. Rather than do any kind of running, he's trying to do all the linking, which white will allow to occur. Now, we can see what this game's coming down to. There is a lot of thickness for white in the middle, and there is a group that black has to be weary about. It's not immortal, not alive just yet, has to be a little bit careful, so he goes for those forcing moves. That can force white to kill off this stone, gonna get mad shape in the middle. Can't be disconnected. What else can you do? Tries to be aggressive. Forces connection on second line. And what? Sorry, what? Survive Incente? Ideally, black would like to survive Incente, yeah. That is certainly true. White, of course. YL3. Well, you have two ways that you can look at that. You could play here, but then... Oh, you mean the probe in general? Just seeing where his Aji lies. If white plays here, then you know the corner's not in any real danger, right? Because there's no monkey jumps or weird shenanigans that can happen on the first line. If he plays this, then we have a different potential forcing move later on. So it's a probe. It's like where's my forcing move? Where are you gonna give it to me? Do I get K6 in Sensei later on? Do I get N2 in Sensei? Which one's it gonna be? And you don't really know until you play it. So sure, he plays. Indeed, shenanigans. White goes to assault. Black Atari, which is an interesting decision, but it leaves the cut point behind. I can't help but feel that maybe that's a mistake, that he should have connected, because white instantly plays the Atari. So now we have exactly what white was looking for. We have a group cut off in the middle of all of this thickness that he's been building up all this time. So the question now is, okay, that's in trouble, but is this group completely alive? And we can see the answer to that is also no, not quite. There's too many different ways to poke at the various eyes here. So black's now in trouble, but I guess maybe he felt that was too slow. Because if he played this, that's Gote, so maybe his opponent immediately attacks him. Or further surrounds him since he has no shape. Alright, but whatever the reason, we're now here. Black says, I capture you. White says, no, you really don't. White says, if I do, I can kill you, and I live, so I would like to capture you. But White's just not interested in that right now, so he's going to play nice and strong. He's not going to play crazy and give his opponent, you know, Aji to do even more shenanigans. Even though it looks weird to play the triangle. Keeps us alive. White finds that black has to defend because he's not alive just yet. Which allows white to continue to surround. This has gone from bad to worse. Black attempts to struggle against the inevitable. White continues poking at him. Black looks for every ounce of Aji he can possibly find. And he's getting quite a bit. I mean, it looks like he's almost there. He's just so close right now. He pokes through. White goes up. Pokes through again. Now we can Hane safely. But only if we ignore a few things. Black pokes through yet again. White takes. Black says, this is mine now. I have captured your stones. But that means white gets to capture these stones. So we have a bit of a trade. Potentially the stones of white in the middle for the stones of black on the right-hand side. Now, I'm not very good at estimating territory. It's because I can only count to 2. So I don't know who got the better end of the trade. I mean, obviously, if it goes beyond 2, I'm just completely lost. But I can generally visualize the area that white's trying to get versus the area that black's trying to get, and it seems like white's was larger. Though I can't tell you by how much. Alright, so it's now black's turn. Decides to try to use the remaining Aji here. White takes. I guess we're trying to get into a ko. Not really sure why. Maybe he thinks he's playing me. I don't really know. So we're going to fight a ko. Black has some threats. White says, forget the ko. I'm just going to connect. Black tries to save. Forces white to not allow. Indeed, I'm bad at ko and I can only count to 2. If you master those things, 5 dan easy. So yeah, white connects. Black tries to expand. goes for a really, really large kill. It's like, okay, if I get all of the top, then this game is still going very, very well for me. All I have to do is just get everything on top, and I'm good. Alright. So, White decides to try to kill him, as you would imagine. Black plays the Hane. White, Atari. Okay, sure, that makes sense as well. It looks like we have pretty bad shape for black now, but there's that cut. So, can't really do much as long as there's the cut there, right? So, White protects, actually. No, does not invite a ko. He flat out protects. Allowing White to play. Now, it looked like from here, I thought, it was going to go into a bit of a more of a standard endgame, and whoever has the better endgame is going to win. But then I remembered I'm not pro, so there's Aji still lingering in the corner. Remember that little guy? Yeah. That little guy was there for a reason, apparently. And now that there's so much Aji on the top, we don't have to settle for S17, apparently. That's what I thought. I thought S17 only. But no, we actually see this. Which is kind of crazy. I thought, this isn't gonna live. There's no way this can live. No. That is not one of the pros who played this. This is simply the person who's reviewing the game. So, I was completely wrong when I was reviewing this game. I did not see this at all taking place. Because we've killed this before, right? I'm sure many of us have been in the situation and killed things. I think this one, on the other hand, is times Suji. Forcing White to defend himself just for an extra move. Defends corner, which further confuses me. I thought, okay, he's gonna do something like this now. Or maybe something like this now. But is he really worried about the cut? Oh, what? No. Oh, the top. Okay, yeah, the top. Yes, not the tree. Haha, I have not messed up the tree. Thank you very much. But okay, he defended himself in the corner. I guess he felt there was enough Aji here? Which seems incredibly risky. Because now we're getting close to those other stones of White on top, which is a little bit bad. We can't have those stones so close to each other. They're gonna revive. Tries to keep killing. Keeps threatening life. Forcing black to defend. Only 2 spaces away now from instant doom. Can't go to ko, so we're gonna connect. White now threatens life once. Black tries to keep him killed. Otherwise he's alive, and then we're totally in trouble. Indeed, 2. I can count to 2. Now this is an interesting move. It is so interesting, in fact, that black immediately resigns. Now, yes, exactly. The question marks. The question marks. Why did black resign here? That's what I'm looking for, Mr. Monday. Why are there question marks here? I mean, we can kill this, right? There you go, Mr. Monday. Why not L15? We can totally destroy this, right? H15 now in trouble. It is a little bit in trouble, yeah. Let's see what we could do. This, I suppose. And then we're gonna cut. Well, what happens here? White dies if he connects. White dies if who connects? Oh, if black connects the groups up together? Wait, what? What are you saying? Those stones at 15. Those stones. Ah, okay, I see what you're saying. White just kills N13 stones, no problem. Okay, okay, that's a bit true. So can anyone know why black resigned then? Because it looks like, according to what I'm seeing in the chat, that black kills white stones easy? Not sure about your variation there, Insomnia. I don't think M14, because we can play here. We can back off, right? To be fair, the part after that still makes sense. I mean, you're on the right track. Oh, that's in your variation? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm blind. Oh, okay, yeah. Never mind. Yep. Alright, I didn't think that was in your variation. I misread what you were writing. But yeah, there's no way to hold on to this. There's absolutely no way to hold on to this. We can kill the 3 stones, but the larger part escapes. And with that coming back to life, that is a little bit too much for black. So he has to resign. Much sadness. But he played a great game. I specifically enjoyed this. I like the rather patient play from white. And it definitely helps reinforce that lovely basic concept on how important it is to be able to count to 2. 2 is a very, very big number in Go. I get perfect trees occasionally. It's a bit rare, but it happens. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this game. I certainly did. Let's see, that's not to say that I'm not going to review either of the games that I mentioned previously. I do want to go over Keji's game. I also want to go over the Jubango. But long story short, the people who I was interested in getting to review that with me, not very interested in doing so. So I'm going to get someone else, I think, once I buy a better friggin' microphone. Because I have one person in mind. Unfortunately, his microphone is the devil. Lots of background noise. So we're trying to get him a better one, I think, before we do that. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not gonna name names. So yeah, we'll see about getting him a better microphone, and then perhaps we'll be able to do that. Should be able to. He is spending like a ridiculous amount of money on a gaming computer, so I think a microphone will be okay. He has a microphone built into his computer, which computers have fans. So, yeah. I'm actually using a blue snowball. I can recommend that as well. Good recommendation. But alright, I will see you guys next time. Someone asked about the tie game thing. Yeah, I intend to do that like next week, I think it is. Because I'm wrapping up one of my series on YouTube this week. And I'm going to have about 2 weeks before I start my new one. At that time, I intend to record a lot of Go because I'm going to have a lot of free time. So it kind of fits in naturally. But alright, take care everyone. Goodbye.